Okay, so I love Overdrive pedals more than pretty much anything in this whole world, maybe aside from coffee. Honestly, I don't get that excited when new delays or reverbs or modulations or even when a new modeling unit comes out. Those things, as much as they're great and they have their place, they don't excite me the same way Overdrives do. I actually own more Overdrive pedals than I'm willing to admit on this channel for the purpose of minimalism, but they all have their purpose. I really think it's important to understand how they work, and once you understand how they work, you can understand how to use them either on their own or in conjunction with each other to get the sounds you want. Now, I'm really fortunate to have a good buddy named Kevin who owns KO Amps here in North Bay. Yes, he makes these wonderful pedals in this little tiny town that I live in northern Ontario, and I was fortunate enough to have him drop off his 4 newly rebranded Overdrives for me to try out and make some demos of. I thought this would be a great time to sit down and show you guys how I go about choosing an Overdrive and how I stack them together. All those little Overdrive secrets that maybe you don't know that could really help your tone. So the goal of an Overdrive pedal is to produce a similar sound to your amp if you were to crank it all the way up. Obviously, having a fully cranked amp is just not practical pretty much ever. There's almost no time that you can get away with cranking your amp all the way up. Even my little 5-watt champ is too loud to do that at home, and honestly, on most gigs, it's too loud. Also, if you have your amp cranked all the way, that's kind of the only sound you've got unless you're using your volume on your guitar to clean things up a little bit. Having Overdrive pedals is a great solution to that. You can choose to have a clean sound, kick it on, you can have an Overdrive sound, and you do have control over the gain depending on the pedal, and even better, having more than one drive, I would even argue having more than 2 Overdrive pedals on your board is the best thing you can do. It's going to give you the most drive possibilities. I'm going to show you guys how I would test Overdrive pedals. We're going to compare these to each other, and I'm going to pick 3 of these 4 pedals to set up in a chain on my pedal board. So the first thing to do is to talk about how the amp is set up. Some people like a really clean amp, and sometimes we consider that a pedal platform where it's clean. There's no overdrive, and you're using just your pedals to get the drive. For me, I like to have my amp breaking up a little bit if I dig in and cleaning up if I play softer. We also call this edge of breakup. I'm running into my custom Blackbridge Spike amp, which is essentially a vibro champ, and I've got it running through the aux into a Fender type cabinet, so it's a very Fendery kind of sound. It's nice and clean. If I play softly, and I dig, and it breaks up a little bit. It's a great starting point for most people, and I like to have it that way so that if I dig in, I can get a little more compression and drive, and then I use my Overdrive pedals to take me to the next steps. So first things first, I'm gonna pick my stage 1 gain, which is gonna be the lightest of all my gains. It's essentially going to be a rhythm sort of drive where I want to be able to hear the characteristic of each chord. I want to hear all the notes in every chord, so I don't want it to be so overdriven and saturated that everything just sounds like one. I want everything to be separated, and I don't want it to be too dirty. I've got all 4 pedals set the same right now. So the tone and the volume right at 12 o'clock, and then I've got the gain set at about 9 o'clock, or about a quarter of the way up, and I'm going to show you what each of these 4 pedals sounds like with the same settings. Clean sound, drive sound. Okay. Number 11, clean sound, drive sound. 12, clean sound, drive sound. Nice. And 14, clean sound, and drive sound. You're going to notice one thing right away. Not only were they different sounds as far as the tone and the gain, but they were all different volumes. So when you're comparing overdrives to each other, you ideally don't want to start with everything at the same place. It's maybe an okay starting point, but what you want to do is you want to tweak them using your ear and not so much your eyes to get the sounds that you want. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go through. I'm going to start with number 10, and I'm going to set it up to be a little crunchier than I currently have it. And I also want the volume to be either the same as my clean sound or maybe just a little bit louder. So one thing you'll notice with the volume set to 12 o'clock here, when I kick this one in, it gets quieter. So what I want to do is I want to adjust that until I have the same or greater. Which actually is probably going to be a bit more. Okay. I'm just going to do a little more. Okay, there we go. That's about the same. And now I'm going to play with the gain and the tone until I kind of get the sound I'm looking for. So a little more gain maybe. Brighter, a little more. That sounds pretty good. Back on. Okay. That's kind of where I want my stage 1 drive. So my clean sound again. And drive sound. Okay, nice. We're going to do the same thing for all of these pedals. So pedal number 11. Right away, that one's got more gain than this one by far. So I'm going to play with this a little bit. I'd probably bring that down. It's a bit bright. Yeah, it's definitely a little bit brighter too. Okay, from the clean sound, the gain sound. Nice, I like that. Moving on to pedal number 12. Clean. Drive. It's a little darker, so I'm going to brighten that up. A little less gain, a little more volume. Cool. Off. On. Yeah, definitely more gain on tap than this. I think these were a little more similar to each other. And let's dial in the last one. So there's my clean. So similar to number 10, the first one we tried, the volume is down a little bit. It's also pretty clean, so I'm going to bring the gain up a little because that's probably going to affect the volume. And I'll bring the volume up a little too, and let's see where we're at. It's a little closer, so off. On. Actually, yeah, that's not very gainy at all, which is kind of nice, and I think I've got a good use for that after. Maybe darken it up a bit. Ooh, yeah. Clean. Drive. Maybe just a touch more. Okay. So let's hear them all once more. I'm just going to play one chord and we can kind of hear the tonal differences between each of the pedals. So my clean sound. Drive pedal number 10. Clean. 11. Clean. 12. Ooh, that was a little dark. Where's my tone? That's just naturally how it is. Cool. And the last one. Okay, now, they all sound really good, but if I had to pick one, I think for me, I would be down to either number 10 or number 14 for my first stage drive. To me, those are the more transparent ones. I found like these guys in the middle are a little bit thicker sounding. maybe a little bit more mid-forward. It feels like they're clipping a little bit harder, whereas these ones were a little more natural to me. Right, if we listen to that, and then we listen to the original tone, and bring it back in, and then same thing over here. I think out of those two though, this is my favorite here. So if I were to pick one for my stage 1 drive, I would go with number 10. Okay, so stage 2 for me is my next stage of drive, obviously, because stage 1 was stage 1, so stage 2 comes after stage 1. The idea with stage 2 for me is it's my more chunky drive. Okay, so stage 1, I was pushing the amp a little bit harder. I wanted it to still be pretty transparent, and I wanted to be able to hear all the notes in the chord. Stage 2, I want something chunkier for more power chord type things or single note lines, things that I don't need quite as much definition on. So I want something that drives a bit harder. I've already picked number 1 as my lighter stage 1 drive. I'm not even gonna look at this one for this part of the experiment. I'm just gonna be looking at 11, 12, and 14, see which one I think would suit my needs the best. So let's turn the gain up a little bit and see how they all sound. So again, my clean. Starting with this guy here, I'm gonna just go ahead. I'm gonna get this gain up a little below half, and let's see what happens. Oh, that's nice. That's nice. That's exactly what I'm talking about. So see the difference there? If I go back here, stage 1. It's pretty clean. I'm not getting a lot of sustain out of it. If I go into stage 2. That's what I'm looking for right there. You could have a little more if you wanted to. Okay, so this one's sounding really good. That's a little more than I would probably go for, and I'll show you why after. So probably somewhere in this ballpark. Lots of sustain. Okay, that one's definitely a contender. Number 12. Same thing, let's get that gain up a little bit. Probably a little more. Okay, that was that guy. Back to 12. Those are both certainly contenders for this job. I think that both of those pedals perform really well in that sort of medium gain stage. If this was our light gain, these guys are both shining to me in that medium one. That's where I think I picked this one for stage 1 as opposed to these ones, because I find these two do a lot better as they get a little bit heavier, and that one was shining a little bit more in the lighter stages for me. Let's see what this guy can do. That's nice. That's still got lots of sustain. Okay, let's hear the 3 of them. So if we did like number 1. And 14. So I think based on my preferences, if it came down to it, I would be choosing between 11 and 14 for my mid-gain stage or my second stage of gain. And I think because of what I'm wanting out of my third stage, which obviously we're going to talk about, I would have to go with number 11. To me, that one there, that's got like almost like a Marshall in a box thing. To me, it's like sits in the mid-range, exactly where I want it. It pushes really nicely. I feel like it's a little bit gnarlier than number 14, which to me is a little more open sound. Now, if all you have is 2 overdrive pedals, that's fine. So now we have your light gain or stage 1 and your medium gain or stage 2, but we do have one more possibility, and I'm sure you've already guessed it, which would be to stack those 2 pedals together. So that's something we hear a lot thrown around YouTube or on your favorite guitar forum is stacking overdrives. Literally all it means is to run one overdrive into another overdrive, so you're essentially getting more overdrive. You're getting double the overdrive, or however that math works. This is really common and something to consider when you're picking out your drives. If you're testing them out, you want to see how they work in conjunction with what you currently have. I will tell you from personal experience, most overdrives stack well with each other as long as you know how to set them up. Now, I've got these set up individually the way I probably want to hear them, my light and my medium gain. Let's hear what happens if I put the 2 of them on together. So again, my light. My medium. That's better. Both. So what's really cool about that, now I have a third stage, a chunkier overdrive if you will, or I have a really, really nice solo boost. So here's the 2 of them together. Which is awesome. If I'm playing in this gain stage here, my medium gain stage, say, and I want to solo, just with my hands. I've got access to a little bit more sustain out of this guy and then a little bit more volume. Now, obviously, if that was my main intention, I could adjust a little bit, make little tweaks, knowing that I'm going to use it that way, as well as using the 2 pedals individually. Where things really get fun is where we add in a third pedal, because as you saw, when we have 2 pedals, we have 3 tonal options. We have them both individually, and then we have them together. When we add a third pedal in, we actually wind up with 7 tonal possibilities. It's awesome. It's exponential growth at its finest. Let's say, hypothetically, I chose 10, 11, and 12. That would be really nice, and if I liked them in that order, that would be great for my brain. If that was the case, I could run 10 on its own. I could run 11 on its own. I could run 12 on its own. And then I have my combinations. I could run 10 and 11 together, so now I'm at 4. Okay, follow me. I could run 10 and 12 together for 5. I could run 11 and 12 together for 6 if my counting is right, and I could run 10, 11, and 12 all together to give me a total of 7 different drive possibilities. Okay, so we've got our 2 drives. We've just figured out we can do 7 different drive sounds if we add a third one. So the way that I see my third drive pedal is essentially a boost. Now, you could definitely use a straight boost pedal here, something like the exotic EP boost that just has the 1 level knob on it, or you could use an EQ where you just bump the level up a little bit. You could even use a compressor and you could just have the level set a bit if the intention is mostly for boost more than gain. The gain will happen naturally because you're pushing the amp a bit harder, but I think you have even more tonal possibilities if you go with some sort of a drive pedal. Now, because I've already chosen 10 and 11 as my light and medium or my first and second stage drives, I'm down to these two, 12 and 14, theoretically, if I were to just be able to pick a boost. So let's take a listen to the two of them. What we're going to do is we're going to hear it on its own as a bit of a boost, and then we're going to see how it reacts to the other two drive pedals I have set up. So there's my clean sound. Now, ideally what I want to do here, I want to keep the gain down quite a bit, and I'm going to use the volume to push it. Now, back in the day, I remember getting my very first tube screamer, probably in like 2005, and I honestly had no idea how to use it. I thought it was like any distortion pedal. Honestly, the only distortion pedal I had before that was the Boss Metal Zone. So I was cranking the gain on it, trying to get my guitar to sound like Stevie Ray Vaughan through a solid state amp, and just wasn't happening. So something worth noting, actually, the way that Stevie Ray Vaughan used to run his tube screamer, he would run the gain pretty low on like 2 or 3, and he would push the volume all the way up to actually drive the amp. So you're getting more of the drive sound from the amp. The tube screamer is obviously coloring the sound, but you're getting more of that natural amp drive as opposed to using the gain clipping in the pedal. So let's take a look at these guys here. I've got the gain down here. I've got the gain down here. We'll see where those tones want to lie. Okay. So here's my clean sound. Okay, get this guy on. Okay, that's still pretty saturated. I'm going to take this all the way down. Okay, no gain, and what's the difference? Put it back on. Boost it a bit, a little gain. It's actually pretty nice. So off. And on. Maybe a little bit less. A little more boost possibly. Okay. There we go. Let's set this guy up. Set up the next one. Definitely need a little more volume. Now, what I'm looking for here, I want the amp to retain its natural sound. I don't want to change the sound too much because essentially I just want it to boost whatever sound I've already got and add just a little bit of gain. Clean. Okay, so there's that guy again. Off. On. Oh, I like that compared to this. Yeah, so to me, this one, I'm hearing more mid-range, and it's a little bit more, it's thicker sounding, I guess, whereas to me, this is sounding a little bit more open. Leaning towards that one. Let's see how they react with our other stages. So I've got my light drive. And then if I boost it, and if I boost that, I like that. So back to here. I boost it with this one. Dark. A little bright. And back to this one. I'm really liking that. Let's hear 11. So that's my stage 2, my heavier drive. boost it. If I swap those guys out. So that's a boost, or I mean it could just be a heavier drive. And back to this guy. What if we do all of them? If I swap these guys out. If you didn't already love drives as much as me, I hope you do now, and if you didn't know any of this stuff, I hope some of this was helpful. I hope this is going to help you be able to pick your next drive successfully, and you're going to be really happy with it, and I hope from now on you'll be able to stack drives together in a bunch of different combinations to get the kinds of sounds you're looking for. This is one of those things I wish I knew more about in my younger years. It took me a long time and a lot of experimenting to figure out how exactly all this stuff worked, at least for the way that I like to play. Something to mention too, I love the fact that these pedals are mini form. What's really awesome, even on a small pedal board, you can put 3 of these side by side and it only takes up the space of something like a full tone full drive. And you're getting so many more possibilities, right? So I think this is even better than having something like a dual drive, which is something I wanted for a really long time. This to me is kind of the ultimate solution for all of your drive needs. If you're interested in checking out any more of these pedals, I've put a link down to Kevin's website, KO Amps. You can go take a look. You can purchase them directly from there. And keep an eye, I'm going to have some demo videos of these up on his site for him soon as well. And if you enjoy nerdy guitar content like this, check out this video here on why I think the Line 6 Helix is the best modeler still in 2022.